Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to look at how to play against the Accelerated Dragon. But before we get into that, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more great opening videos. So the big thing with the Accelerated Dragon is they play the same moves as the Dragon, but they don't play D6. What they're trying to do is they're trying to play D5 straight, and that way this Dragon is accelerated. So here we just continue the normal way, moving our pieces to these squares, and now the first real novelty is Bishop E2. So after Bishop E2, there's really no castling queenside. You're going to basically castle kingside and play for this F4 attack. So instead of putting the bishop on C4, because Knight A5, and it's pretty easy for black to kind of get rid of this bishop over here. So we're going to keep it on E2 for defense and offense, as you'll see later. Really keeping an eye on this G4 square. So there's three main variations. So we're going to start with D6. So D6, we just want to castle, and now Knight B3. So here, this is going to be a very common position for you. Here you're going to see this a lot, and here either you'll see A5, so A5, A4 we'll look at a little bit later in a position that transposes to this. But let's say, for example, Bishop E6. Here we want to go F4, kind of trying to do this F5 push, and if this knight moves, we go Knight D4. Now if Queen C8, the key here is King H1. So now if Knight G4, we can go just Bishop G1, and then we're going to have a lot of maneuvers like Queen E1, Queen H4, Rook D1, bring all our pieces into the game, and try to get an attack against this kingside. So that's what we're gonna do if Queen C8 and D6. So now we're gonna look at D5. So D5 is kind of a blunder because bishop to B5. So bishop B5, and now if castle, we can play take, knight takes. Queen D6 or Queen C7, we take on D5, and anything like this is okay for white because here we can take even queen takes, because after take, queen takes queen, we have knight takes pawn, and we pick up the queen back. And if Queen C7, probably a little bit more trying, we take an E6. So he's going to try to undermine this knight. So here, if we take here, you can take this knight. So we can't do that, so we go Queen D2 first. And after take on D5, Knight D4. And now we can castle kingside or queenside. We're still up one pawn, and this pawn is super weak. So we have a nice position here. So now if he doesn't go castle and he goes Bishop D7, now we can take on D5, and after Knight B4, Bishop C4, we're going to hold on to this pawn, and once again, we're going to be up a pawn with a nice position. So that's what you're going to do against these D5 moves. Now lastly, if castle, this is kind of the main line, which you probably see the most of, F4. So we want to get this E5 square as fast as possible. So here, if Queen B6, for example, this is a blunder, because E5, if Knight E8, we can take on C6, let him take here, take on E7, here, and Knight D5. And now we control the whole position. And here you're going to see moves like H4, H5, starting attack against this king. And here, black's pieces are all really super passive. So that's what we're going to do if Knight E8. Now if take on B2, we have this important move, Knight B5. And now he can't really support the knight and stop this queen from being trapped. For example, if Queen B4, we would just play Rook B1, and the queen is trapped. Or it's not trapped, he has to go back to A5, and now we can take on F6. And here, this is always fine for us because it moves like Queen D2. So now instead, if he plays Knight B4, we could play castle. A nice patient move, and after Knight takes C2, we have this nice move, Queen to D2. And now Rook B1 or Rook C1 is going to win some material. And here, once again, you see white pieces are super active. You see all these pieces controlling the board, whereas black is kind of like holding on for dear life. And that's going to always be good for like the stronger side or the more active side. So Queen B6 isn't a good move. Now D5, whenever you see this idea, you want to go E5 here and Bishop F3. Now if E6, we can pick up an exchange like this, which would be pretty good. And if Knight C7, we just play Queen D2. And once again, this is still good for us, even though we don't win an exchange. We have a nice attack, and if he tries to kick this bishop, we just go Bishop D6. And this bishop is going to be cemented for a long time on this D6 square. So that would be positionally very good for us. Now instead of D5, if he goes D6 first, this is going to transpose to those positions with D6 early. For example, if Bishop E6 castle, we have the same position after Queen C8. Now instead, if Bishop E6 castle, if Knight A5, we can play Knight D4 because now this knight doesn't control the square anymore. Let's go back. Let's say instead he goes Bishop D7. We can castle once again, and we're gonna have these kind of positions. Here we can go H3 fully protect this square because now this queen is supporting it as well. Also, king h1 is definitely possible. Now instead, if a5, we can go a4. We stop his plan. E5, we just castle. Dark squares are going to be weak, and d6 is weak. Bishop d7, castle, once again, same idea as bishop f3, controlling these important squares. And if d5, we once again have this idea. And here we can actually go into a very favorable endgame for white. So here, take, and now c3, we have this nice d4 outpost, and this pawn is going to eventually fall. So now let's go back. Instead of that, let's look at a5. So we want to go a4. And actually these lines we've already looked at. So here, this is how you want to play against the accelerated dragon. Make sure you get that bishop e2, and remember, you can't play castle queenside and play it the same way as the normal dragon. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out wolfchess.org for great puzzles, lessons, and videos, and hope you guys were entertained.